So the big weekend, this weekend there's going to be a coronation on for the king. The last time there was a coronation, I think it was back in the 50s, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, because it was done in black and white. Anyway, that was a big scene back then, and people from all around the world either watched or many of them just listened on the wireless, as it was back then. And it was a massive affair. There was lots of pictures done, china done, and all the rest of it, and bunting would have been up everywhere. Now, I remember the wedding of Charles to Diana. That was a massive deal. I was only a little at the time, 1982 I believe it was. And the same year I think we went to the Falklands and give them an arse kicking, so lots of bunting. Anyway, back then I knew nothing about the royal family, nothing that I know now. However, back then we all used to look up to them, and it was a wonderful thing. We were very proud of our royal family, and many people fight and die for the Queen, etc. Many did go to war basically for the king last of all, the big war we had. No, actually, thinking about it, because at the same time, as I say, that Charles got married in that same year, I believe, we had the Falklands, so people went to war for the Queen. And people did go and fight and die. Apparently when you listen to them, they were all down there going down on the ship, and it was until they got to Ascension they actually thought they were going to come back. And on the way down there they were going, yeah, Queen and country and all the rest of it. And by the time they pressed on from Ascension, they realised they were actually going to have to land and fight the RGs. It wasn't so much about Queen and country, it was so much get the job done and get home and try and stay in one piece. Anyway, at the moment we now know that they're quite not all they seem. How do I say this nicely? I can't say it nicely. Andrew's been accused of being a nonce. There were some grey areas about what happened to Diana, because there's a lot of stuff there that we don't know about. Philip was continually shagging anything he could get his hands on, even at an old age. Then go back a few years before that, Mountbatten. Well, when Mountbatten got murdered, everybody was up in arms. It was a terrible thing. I was more interested actually in the 18 paras that got done, which was terrible. However, it turns out that Mountbatten liked young black boys. That was his particular favourite. So when he got taken overseas, the first thing he'd say to his driver is, take me to a place where you can get that. And apparently his missus liked black men. Well, who knew? But it seems that the royal family have had degeneracy run through it for ages. But there you go. So the fact that old Sausage Fingers is in the World Economic Forum and numerous other stuff, he's incredibly high-level Mason, and he's part of many societies that are making sure that our life in the future is much worse. He goes along with this green agenda bullshit, and I say bullshit because it is just that, and he lies to his people. He has no love for you and me. He wouldn't give us the steam off his piss. Now, what they're like behind closed doors, we'll never know. But I don't know if you've noticed, just lately, he's being more of an arrogant, cantankerous prick than he ever was before. There were times before that he was quite witty and humorous, but the mask seems to be slipping. But no, I don't like the guy. I have to say, I don't like the fact that when he got into a relationship with Diana, he had no intentions of giving up his relationship with Camilla. Now, I'm not perfect myself. When I was a young lad, I was a bit of a twat, but I've had 7 years on my jack to reflect about my behaviour when I was a young man and what my behaviour would be in any relationship going forward. These people live by a complete different set of rules. They set the rules, basically, but they set the rules for you, and then they set the rules for them. And they have untold wealth, which can buy all sorts of things, but also because they're part of certain groups, they can cover up all sorts of stuff. I mean, let's be fair. If somebody who was relatively poor had been accused of the things that Andrew had been accused of, he'd probably be looking at the long end of 25 years in the nick. Probably. But that's another thing. But I don't like them. And I can't like them no matter what I do. To like them would be morally bankrupt. But it is a great show that they're going to put on this weekend. It's going to cost millions and millions, and there are going to be people who are still plugged into the system all around the world watching it. And they're going to enjoy it. And they're going to like the ceremony. I mean, there was people that were camping out of about 2 days ago so they could be right at the front of the queue to get, you know, a view of the royal family doing the thing that they do. I should imagine they'll get in that carriage. It's worth millions. and there'll be all of the rest of it going on. And I have to say, it is a sight to see. Then you'll probably have some, I don't know, religious head of the church, I should say, that's up to his eyeballs probably in corruption, noncery and all sorts of other stuff, leading the way. These are the same people that literally welcome Islam into the church and are, they're Satan worshippers, the lot of them. But there it is. So this weekend we get an extra day off because everywhere that we will be working will be shut. So we couldn't work even if we wanted to. But there you go. I'll make the most of it, and because I don't get much time off at the moment, and you'll notice that I haven't been putting anything else because I haven't been sleeping at all. I've been getting on by between 2 and 4 hours sleep a night, and to be honest, that ain't any good. So we've now found a new way of getting some sleep, and I managed to get 6.5 hours maybe the other night, fuck all the night before, and then last night I got a good night's sleep for once, so hence I'm doing a video. But when you get to that, you can only concentrate on one thing at a time. So it's driving, obviously. But yeah, once I can get the sleep pattern back together, I'll be putting out content. But literally, I've been dead. And all I could do was literally function on the job, get as much sleep as I can, bit by bit, like some at night, and then whenever you stop, if you could. Because the brain, I don't know about you, my brain won't stop. It's permanently on the go 24/7, and this actually leads into what I've been saying. Our lives are infinitely more stressful, more painful, and more difficult than it would need to be. The system itself is permanently putting doom and gloom into you, which fills us full of dread, which gives us anxiety, which stops us sleeping. And these heads of the World Economic Forum and all the rest of it, you know, the people that control the direction of where we're going and what happens to the little people, are engineering that our lives are more stressful, more difficult. They're engineering that what we inhale, what we drink, what we eat isn't good for us. And I mean, you look at Prince Philip. He and Charles both have said we need to reduce the population of the world. And they said they wanted to reduce it by at least down to about 10% of what it is right now. So them and all their mates would be fine. But the little people, the ones that take the medical procedure and are now suffering or dead, the ones that have to live day to day, hand to mouth, basically, these are the people that have to eat all the crap processed food that won't do you any good at all. They have to drink the water that has all the shit in it. They have to live under the skies that have all sorts of crap pumped into it and all the rest of it. They have to live under the stress of, am I going to pay the rent? Can I heat the house? Will I be able to pay the gas bill? Etc, etc, etc. You get where I'm coming from. And all this stress builds up and builds up and builds up. It's no good for your heart. And if you think like me and you're worried about the future, your brain won't stop, and you've got so much going on that you don't get any sleep. That's bad. So these people are all part of it. So old Sausage Fingers this weekend, we used to take the piss out of him because he talked to the plants and stuff like this, and he was a laughable character. But he's actually very fucking serious. And he is going to be, as he said before, defender of the faiths. And he is literally welcoming Islam in. And he will play his part. And the future isn't very bright under a king like that. And I don't suppose his son will be much better, because they're all woke as fuck, a lot of them. I was thinking to myself the other day, when all of this comes out and the people slowly wake up, because they are waking up, but it's slower than I would have liked, that the people would say, I want justice. No, I don't want justice, I want revenge. I do. Because the system, the people at the very top, that control everything, would have no control if they didn't have the servants the next level down, the Boris Johnsons of this world, the other people like that, the banking system, the people who, the heads of every country, the governments, all the rest of it. All of these people serve these people because they get financially rewarded. They get power, they get status, they get financial reward. Well, what good would that be if you couldn't spend it? Now, at some point, the people will become medieval and drag people out into the streets. I'll have no part of that, obviously, because I'll be doing this. But it probably will happen, because you look around the world at when people actually lose everything and they're in a second or third world country, and they end up losing their shit and they take the leader out and do bad things. I mean, you can look at Mussolini, but there's been a lot more recent events, and Gaddafi, people like that. And where taking Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein out now on reflection was a really bad idea, and that was orchestrated by the state itself. What I'm trying to say is the people themselves did it, took them out. Now, if the people of each country ended up losing their shit and going harry-carry and grabbing hold of these people and doing what they have done historically in the past, then it might set an example to people in the future who think, I will go and serve these evil bastards and get rich. You might think, well, actually, what good is wealth if that's what the public will do to me? While I don't condone violence, when you take people's votes away, when you take people's speech away, when you take people's freedoms away, when you take away their ability to protest or do anything, you leave them with no other recourse. And this is what these people are doing. They're slowly taking away everything from you, and they think that it'll work. The arrogance is breathtaking. So there it is. Anyway, I've had a little break now, so I shall get on with work, and I'll probably see you over the weekend. As I say, I haven't been putting any content out because I've literally been dead on my feet. I couldn't even hold a I wouldn't have been able to talk like this. I'd actually got so tired at one point that I was slurring. So sleep was the most important thing to get, so we've got that and we're okay. And hopefully if we can carry on like this, as I say, I'll be able to put a lot more out. Cheers for being patient. I'm sure a lot of you know exactly what I'm going through at the moment, and many of you are probably going through it exactly the same. I mean, if you're driving a tipper and you're doing small trips, imagine doing nearly 2,500 kilometers a week. That'll give you some idea. And then factor into the rest of, you're doing 12 and a half hours, and then factor into the rest of life, then it makes it very difficult to do this. This is my passion, but the job, is what pays the bills. And that's just the way of it. Anyway, as I say, I've got to get on now and go and shift some muck, as they say. So I'll see you in a bit.